Michael. Glad to be here this evening to there's happenings in the world of sports this evening. Top on our Yeah, welcome back from that short break. Kingsley is here this evening as we take a look at some of the interesting sporting stories that we have for you. Kingsley, good evening and welcome to weekend edition of Sports Extra.
Thank you very much, Mike, and nice to be here this weekend.
All right, let's get started because President Bola Ahmed Tinubu thrown Nigerians' weight behind clean energy and marine innovation as Lagos made history on Friday, hosting Africa's first E1 electric powerboat race. Tinubu, in a goodwill message on Friday, quoted in a statement by Lagos Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Gboyega Akosile, praised Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and the sponsors for bringing the championship to Nigeria, describing it as a milestone for clean energy and marine innovation. He said that Lagos was making his history as the first African city to host the E1 championship, joining the likes of Monaco, London, Jeddah, and Venice on the global calendar. The president linked the event to his administration's vision for blue economy, noting that the government is committed to building prosperity around renewable energy, marine tourism, and coastal infrastructure. So even Mr. President have also taken cognizance of the, sporting expansion that Lagos State is doing, and of course, it looks as though what Lagos State is doing is also in synergy with what Mr. President plans agenda, have on ground for Nigerians.
Yes, I think it's a good one, a very, very good one at this point in time. Lagos State being the first city in Africa to host the E1 championship. Very, very impressive, I know, at this point in time. And the event, of course, was so glamorous. We saw the likes of DJ Drogba, of course, in the scene. And it actually shows that, of course, we're doing something here in Nigeria, when it has to do, of course, with sport. Kudos to the organizers, and kudos, of course, to Lagos State, for being the first city, of course, to host the championship. And for me, it's actually a good one. And I really love, the approach of the president. I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to, of course, make sport a viable venture, down here in Nigeria. A few days ago, we're talking about, Nigeria hosting the Commonwealth Games, and the president is seriously pushing, to see that, Nigeria gets that bid for hosting the Commonwealth Game. But we understand there's still a lot of question around it. Are we able, are we capable enough of hosting that particular one? Possibly, if the president has given the go-ahead, I think, of course, we have what it takes. Maybe they've actually drawn the map and see that definitely we can host that one. But when you take a look at the efforts of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in sport development, he will say he really want to make sport, of course, a viable venture. Don't forget, he said he wants to also make sport, one of the, means of generating revenue, in the economy. So for me, I think it's a good one. What we just need now is for the National Sport Commission, of course, to put everything in place to make sure that, we continue to strive when it has to do with sport. But impressive one, for Lagos State being the first city to host this particular one. And we'll just look forward to see what comes up for Nigeria, when it has to do with sports going forward.
Beyond making the landmark achievement of being the first African country to host the E1, competition, what special advantage does it bring to Lagos State in particular? What are the things, what are the benefits that you think Lagos State have accrued or is going to accrue because of this hosting?
I think for me, take a look at advantage, monetary-wise. I think, of course, the Lagos economy definitely will benefit from this one. We understand the drivers, trooping in, even fans as well, top personalities, coming into the state, they have to, of course, maybe lodge in 1 or 2 hotels, spend time and all of that. And you also take a look at the fact that it also brings some kind of, investment to say, maybe one of those persons who actually came into the country because of this particular championship might want to maybe do business, down there, maybe in Lagos, or maybe do 1 or 2 things, possibly that, that of course will develop the states. And don't forget, the E1 Championship, of course, being hosted down here in Lagos. Some other countries monitor the events, and of course, they also have to take a look at how Lagos is, were they able to host the championship and all of that. So, global exposure, at this point in time, to Lagos State. And with this, so many persons will want to come to Lagos to come and see how the place is, tourism, and all of that. So, global exposure, monetary-wise, people really benefited, especially those who have maybe hotels and all of that. So it also means, boosting the economy of Lagos. And for me, it's a very, very good one. We hope to see, competitions like this, of course, being hosted. We're talking about hosting major tournaments. We're talking about likes of hosting Formula One, and the rest of them. We just hope that maybe Nigeria will be, that African country that will possibly, of course, host the Formula One. After we saw it in South Africa a very long time ago. I think all of these things, of course, they have a way of boosting, the economy, but we have to be in a very good position. We have to be in a very good position in terms of, having the best of facilities and making sure that, the economy is on a very good shape, and as well, our athletes, sportsmen and women are also in a very good shape to also benefit whenever, of course, we, host this particular championship. And for me, I think is a good one. You talk about the fact that, okay, can't Nigeria, take it up with themselves in maybe also participating in the E1 championship as well. It also, if we can host it, then we can also, take part in it, at this point. Now, I understand it's a very huge sport. It's a sport that involves money, and all of that. Maybe, just like we see the likes of Rafa Nadal owning a team, Gigi Drogba and the rest of them, maybe a Nigerian can just say, okay, I'm going to own a team as well. And we'll see Nigeria also participating, in this one, or a team owned by a Nigerian also participating. So for me, I think huge one. Lagos State really benefited from this one. So we'll just see what comes up going forward in terms of hosting major competitions.
With this impressive strive from Lagos State in hosting this E1 competition, we talk about renewable energy and all of that. But then beyond this, this is a milestone achievement for Lagos State and for Africa to be particular. With this, landmark achievement, do you see Africa hosting any Formula One, Grand Prix championship anytime soon? Because it's been long, about 1990 something. That is the last time an African country hosted a Formula One. With this drive from Lagos State being the first Africa country to host the E1, do you think that this will anyway give them advantage to, of course, move for the for Formula One? We understand there are countries in Africa. Is it Uganda that are also pushing to, of course, and South Africa pushing to host Formula One? Do you think this is going to be an advantage for them?
For me, yes, I think. But Lagos is a very small city. You understand the level of traffic in Lagos, but if they really want to, I think they will have to create space for it. They have to create the ground for it, for it to happen.
I don't mean Lagos in particular. I'm talking Africa, because this is a landmark achievement, not just for Lagos, but Africa, because this is the first time that an African country is hosting the E1.
I think, yes, South Africa can still do it. I don't know what actually happened, of course, the last time, but I think South Africa can still do it. They still have what it takes, to host Formula One. You ask yourself, can Nigeria do it? I think it's a question I cannot really answer at this point in time.
We are hearing the issue of Abuja.
We're considering Abuja. I understand Nigeria, Abuja has motorable roads, all right, that maybe possibly, if we put it in shape and get everything set, possibly Formula One can be hosted down there. But it has to do with a lot of work, it has to do with, we, of course, trying to make sure we put everything in place, properly, so that it won't be a disaster, at the end of the day. But you ask yourself, what are we going to benefit in hosting this? Because you don't just get up and say, I want to host Formula One events. That's why Nigerians are questioning, the agenda of the president hosting Commonwealth Games. What are we going to benefit from the Commonwealth Games at the end of the day? Even though our athletes participate, are we going to come top? That's the thing as well. And they take a look at it, the economy is not even strong enough, and you want to use a very huge amount of money. When other top European countries are running away, you want to invest in it. And taking a look at the situation of the economy is not really viable at this point in time. That's why so many persons are questioning that agenda of hosting the Commonwealth Games. So we have to take a look at the economical, benefit of it, at this point in time before we go into it. Like I mentioned, maybe Nigeria can do it, but I'm very sure that South Africa can still do it again if they really, of course, want to go into it. I know Morocco, of course, they are also a very good city as well, country, where Formula One, of course, can be hosted. But I think for me, taking a look at all of this is a statement of intent that Africa will gradually, of course, developing and, of course, putting ourselves on that limelight of maybe hosting any tournament, no matter the kind of competition or no matter the kind of sport, as a stand. If Nigeria can host the E1 Championship, South Africa can do it. Yes. Morocco can do it at this point in time. So for me, I think it has opened door for me, for what I think. It has really opened door that for the fact that Africa, of course, we can host, major competitions.
Massive one for Africa, and of course Lagos State putting Africa on the global map in terms of sports, out there being the first African country to host the E1 championship. Massive one for Lagos State. Incredible feat. I will most commend Lagos State and the governor, talking about Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Let's talk boxing on the show this evening, because the interim president of the Nigerian Boxing Federation, Azanaya Omo Agege, has commended the heavyweight sensation Moses Ituema, a former cruiserweight world champion, Lawrence Okoli, and other Nigerian heritage boxers for their recent visits to the country. Omo Agege expressed delight at seeing the fighters reconnect with their roots, particularly highlighting boxing's historic significance to Nigerian sport. Quoting him, he says, "I'm very happy to see Ituema, Okoli, Aziz, and all the other boxers visit Nigeria, the home of a boxing legend. We have many boxing champions with Nigerian heritage. Among all sports in Nigeria, boxing got the first ever medal and also the first in Africa from the Olympics," he said. Meanwhile, the interim president also proposed the establishment of a Nigerian Boxing Hall of Fame museum in Abuja, which will showcase culture and stories of legendary Nigerian boxers such as Hogan Bassey, Dick Tiger, Samuel Peter, and Okoro Dudus. And the Koniwechi's Omo Agege praised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu Independence Day speech as well, which he emphasized put Nigeria first, saying the same attitude should apply to sports as well. He commended the boxing promoters for bringing boxers to Nigeria for professional bouts and expressed optimism about boxing's resurgence in the country. First off, there are two things that I was able to drive home. The president of Nigerian Boxing Federation, Omo Agege, is proposing that there should be more like a museum, in Abuja for boxing exhibition. Do you think that this is going to, of course, help to, encourage young boxers to come out and, take boxing as a special field of sports? Because it looks as though we are no longer there in terms of boxing. The likes were here, Ituema, Anthony Joshua. These are Nigerian descent, no doubt, but they don't fight for Nigeria. Even this Moses Ituema we are talking about, have you had him represent Nigeria? No. Look as though boxing is dying down. The last boxer that wanted to rise was the last one that got, ended his life abruptly at Ghana here. He died. I think that case, the Boxing Federation are still on that case. I don't know how far. The last man that was able to put us in the global map was Samuel Peter, and it's been years. Can this in any way revive boxing in Nigeria?
Maybe it can. Maybe it can. All right. At this point in time, first of all, before I talk about the way forward and how things and how boxing can be better in Nigeria, I think for me, Omo Agege coming out to say, "Oh, Ituema and the rest of them, they are
Okoli.
They are doing so well outside." But if you want to take a look at it, did they actually, grow from here? Did they benefit? Did they gain anything from Nigeria? Did they start their boxing career in Nigeria? Was Nigeria part and parcel of their growth? So then you don't wake up today and say, oh, Nigeria has good boxers outside, and all of that. What about the boxers in Nigeria? How well are they doing? That's the question.
True.
We have a boxing federation, isn't it? Yes. So what are they doing in terms of grooming talents, in boxing? You mentioned, oh, boxing won our first medal. All right. So what has happened now? Why can't boxing, of course, be that sport that will always rely on every time that, oh, we'll go for the Olympics, we are coming back with a medal. We'll go for what athletics champion, whatever championship, we are coming back with the medal. Boxing is nowhere to be found. But you cannot say you cannot say positive things now when it has to do with boxing, of course, in the country. So he should look at it. How do we get this thing right? Now he's talking about having a museum, in Abuja, and all of that. Maybe, of course, maybe that can help. But first of all, you have to look for the talent, and of course, create a platform where they will grow. How many times do you hear about boxing championship in Nigeria, where boxers, of course, go to train or maybe go to compete, and then you can stand a chance. So at the end of the day, when you have a competition, so, oh, this also person is very good, let's take this person to a particular championship.
Because the Nigerian that died in Ghana, he left Nigeria to go for boxing competition in Ghana.
Yes. The man was going there to look for greener pastures as well, and all of that. So that is the thing. How well do we care for the boxers? Taking a look at it, are we even engaging in grooming talent at this point in time? That's the question at this point. So for me, I think, yes, right step in that right direction for me, if they will even take it serious. Why can't we see how we can maybe bring the likes of the Okoli, the Tuema we're talking about, maybe Anthony Joshua, make them part and parcel of the federation? Yes, they will come in, bring in their own ideas, and see how to encourage young boxers. There's no how you see the likes of Anthony Joshua, being part and parcel of the boxing federation down here in Nigeria, that you that have interest in boxing will not want to, that your interest or your passion will not be triggered. Oh, you have a good time with meeting Anthony Joshua, talk to him, interact with him to get some kind of ideas, about boxing and all of that. That's encouragement. So if you say, okay, you're bragging of the fact that we have boxers out there, bring them in. Let them come and see what, see how they can do to develop, boxing. Not, not always mentioning past glory. We're the first federation that won medal, and all of that. And at the end of the day, nothing is happening now. When was the last time a boxer won a medal, for Nigeria? Maybe at the Olympics or thereabout. When was the last time? So that's the thing. So for me, I think if maybe they want to put up a museum, then you have to look out for these guys out there, bring them in, make them part and parcel of the federation. It's not that they'll be boxing, for the country and all of that. They can't, at this point in time. Just make them part and parcel, and see how they can also, contribute in the growth of boxing in the country.
All right, we'll see how it pans out, but then to the Formula One we move because Lewis Hamilton faces an investigation for potential red flag infringement following a final practice session in Singapore, topped by Red Bull's Max Verstappen. Hamilton appeared to speed up through a final chicane of turns 16 and 17 after the session was stopped because of a crash by Racing Bull's Liam Lawson. If found guilty of an infringement, Hamilton could face a grid penalty. Verstappen headed McLaren's championship leader Oscar Piastri by just 0.017 seconds, as less than 0.1 seconds separated the top 5 drivers. Mercedes' George Russell and Kimi Antonelli were third and fourth fastest, with McLaren's London Norris fifth. There was just 0.072 seconds between Piastri and Norris, who trails the Australian by 25 points with 7 races remaining. All right, away from that to the world of tennis, we heard this weekend talking about the Shanghai Open. Alexander Zverev defied a foot problem to book his place in the third round of the Shanghai Masters on Saturday, beating Francis Valentin Roya 6-4, 6-4. World number 3 from Germany had a blistering start, breaking Roya in the first game and then hitting 3 aces to easily hold the second. A play settled as the Frenchman found his fifth, but a crucial stumble saw him miss a break point in the 8 games, and Zverev took the set. Both players missed chances to break in the second, while the crowds with multiple tense rallies. Zverev finally broke in the 9th game, then held the last game to win. Despite having taken a medical break after the limp off, he went on to hold his nerve and won that very one. Still talking about the tennis on the show, Kingsley, my lady Cory Coco Gauff lost to, Amanda Anisimova in the China Open. 6-1, 6-2 it ended. Surprising result it was for Cory Coco Gauff after breezing past her opponent to get to this stage.
I've always told you that Coco Gauff is not consistent. All right, I've always told you that the lady is not living up to expectation when it matters most, and that's my problem with her. All right, she's a very good tennis player, but when it matters most, you always see Coco Gauff falling short. She was in the last 4. If she has won, she would have gotten to the final and then see if she can win this one, of course, for herself. But she was beaten down there by another American, talked about Amanda Anisimova. And that's what I said, Coco Gauff has not really, taken her game to that height where she can maintain that high level of consistency of, mediating. The other day we're talking about the duopoly of Aryna Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek, how they've been consistent. And we were talking about Coco Gauff. What is she that kind of player that can, break in, mediate into the likes of Aryna and Iga and try to see how she can also regain dominance? I've not really seen her to be, that kind of player, because she has not built her confidence, and her game, to that extent of having that huge level of dominance, at this point in time. So it's a really unfortunate one, and I just hope that, she at least, tried to build herself. When she came, like I said, I told you that when she came, everyone thought she was going to be the next Serena Williams, who was very consistent during her time, winning about 23 Grand Slam, for herself before she retired. But Coco Gauff has not really proven that, she is that kind of, player that can stand the test of time, that can maintain high level of consistency. And it's really, a very, very, disturbing situation, especially to our fans, at this point in time. So, unfortunate one. I think she would just have to go back and try to see how to refresh and look forward to bounce back.
All right, at this point, we are going to take a quick break to come back in the second half to service some footballing stories. Meanwhile, we can tell you that Nigeria Golden Eaglet, yes, it was more like a happy and sad moment for them as they bring to their to end the curtain at the Waffle B Championship. Happy and sad. Why? You may need to ask. You need to wait for us when we are back in a jiffy.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on The Fact Today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorables,
You human
on the point of order.
Honorables, you are a human.
All right, you're welcome back from that short break. Still onto Atlantic Television Network Sports Extra weekend edition of the show, and we are bringing you the top stories revolving around the world of sport. And Kingsley Emmanuel is still here, and together we are taking you through some of the latest gist. Let's talk football on the show, because Nigeria's Golden Eaglet closed their WAFU B under-17 campaign with a 2-0 win over Burkina Faso in Friday's third place playoff in Yamoussoukro. But the victory was little more than a consolation after another failed qualification bid for the Africa Under-17 Cup of Nations. Ahmed Yusuf handed his first start of the tournament, seized the opportunity with a clinical opener 5 minutes into the second half. A lively forward drove a slow shot past Burkina Faso's goalkeeper to put Nigeria in front after Eaglet had wasted several chances in the opening 45 minutes. Substitute Famous Omole doubled the lead in the 77th minute, finishing off a precise through ball from Paul Ugu to seal the result. Kingsley, like I said before we went on break, it's more like a sad and happy stories for the Flying Eagles. Happy in the sense that they won the bronze medal, but sad they failed to qualify for the African Under-17, Cup of Nations. If you take a look at the trajectory of the youth age football in Africa, Nigeria is gradually dropping down in their value. The last Under-20 African Cup of Nations, we couldn't go far. We went out disastrously. Now, the Golden Eaglet, we have failed again to qualify for the African Under-17 Cup of Nations. Is it not something to be worried about?
I think, of course, it's something we should be worried. We should be, we should not. It's not a situation where we should be happy with this, because at least, age grade football used to be something that Nigerians used to be proud of. Of course, we're always confident, especially the under-17. Back then, 2007, we challenged the very best.
True.
Spain, Argentina. But these days, nothing. I think the under-20 they are currently on, we saw what they were able to do against the likes of Saudi Arabia, the other day and all of that. But yes, they lost to Norway. Let's see how far, of course, they will go this time around. But for me, I think it's really, really disappointing. This actually tells you that, with grassroots football here is gradually, going down at this point in time. We're not doing enough. The league is not doing enough. The MPFL is not doing enough in terms of grooming players. So at the end of the day, when you don't nurture these players, give them the right platform with the right facility to train, how would they, when you don't do all of these things, how would they be able to put up a very good performance out there? Take a look at Morocco. All right. The other day, Morocco under-20 team beat Brazil.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. That's to tell you how football has grown, how they have developed football. They were able to put up a 10-year, football development plan. They have to bring in foreign coaches into the country to be able to even educate their own coaches and then even their players before they now carry on, of course, from there. That is how you grow. But in a situation whereby everybody is on his own, the players that are looking forward to see if they can even make the national team, they're on their own. Even the MPFL teams, maybe they're supposed to have, feeders team. Not all of them do. At this point in time, how do you expect, age grade football to grow, down here in Nigeria? So it is very, very disappointing. It is very, very disappointing that this is where we find ourselves. So sad that, we'll not be at I think the under-17, AFCON. We were not there, I think, last time, and now again, will not be there. It's so disappointing. This bronze medal, it doesn't bring any happiness at all, at this point in time, because age grade football is gradually declining, and it's not good. And at the end of the day, you ask yourself, how do we, reproduce the next Victor Osimhen? Osimhen came from age grade football. Yes. How do we reproduce these stars? And must we every time depend on foreign products? Oh, this person is playing in English Premier League. This person is playing in Germany. Let's call him to come and represent the national team. Why don't we grow players down here that can represent, the national team? South Africa are doing that. Morocco are also doing that, at this point in time. Some other African countries are doing that. But we always depend on already made products. And at the end of the day, we abandon, our own players that were supposed to give the platform to grow. And this is how it is now. It's now affecting, of course, A-grade football down here in the country. The under-17 team not putting up a very good performance. Under-20 not also putting up a very impressive performance, out there. So it's very, very disappointing. And I think the National Sport Commission should take a look into it. The Nigerian Football Federation should look into it at this point in time. What are they really doing? So for me, it's very, very disappointing.
Disappointing one that our stock is falling gradually in the other age football, as the Golden Eagles failed to make it through to the next African Cup of Nations, but they won the bronze medal and the WAFO B Zonal Championship. Away from that, Flying Eagles midfielder Daniel Daga says the team is firmly focused on their next game against Colombia at the 2025 FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Aliyu Zubairu's side defeated Saudi Arabia 3-2 in their second match of the competition on Friday morning. Captain Daniel Bamiye scored a stoppage time penalty to give Nigeria maximum points in that very encounter. Meanwhile, the Flying Eagles currently sit third in Group C with 3 points from 2 matches played thus far. A 7-time African champion will need to beat Colombia in their next final group game fixture to secure a place in the knockout round. Daga declared that they would give their all to overcome South Americans' side. We see how it pans out, but then let's head straight to the camp of the Super Falcons, because we can tell you that Super Falcons forward Ifeoma Onumonu has announced her retirement from football, bringing to an end a professional career that spanned more than a decade across the United States, France, and Nigeria. In a statement shared on her Instagram page in early hours of Saturday, The 31-year-old expressed gratitude for her journey, describing her retirement as a natural conclusion to lifelong discovery that began at the age of 8. Quoting her, she says, "It is with a heart full of gratitude that I bid farewell to my playing career on the pitch." Onomono wrote on her social media. So Kingsley Ifeoma Onomono, part and parcel of the last African Cup of Nations, but then she just enjoyed only a few minutes in one of the games. She has decided to hang the boot at 31. Do you think that she has fulfilled her dream?
I think if you ask me, fulfill her dream, of course I would say yes. All right. She was with the team in the last FIFA Women's World Cup, and then she just won the Women African Cup of Nations again with the Super Falcons of Nigeria. We understand, yes, she has not really been at her best, of recent, and at 31 years of age, I think maybe she really wants to go into maybe childbearing or maybe getting married and settle down. She's a woman, and of course, maybe she wants to also settle down and try to see and focus in another aspect of life, as it stands. At 31, I would say Onomono has really tried. She's done her best. We saw what she was able to do as well. Apart from the national team in her club side, she played in France. I think she also played in the United States of America as well. So, been an impressive one, for her. At least participating in the World Cup, winning the African Cup of Nations, and also having, a little bit of an impressive achievement, with her club side as well, the club she played for. I think is a good one, at the end of the day at 31. Good one for her. We just wish her the very best of luck, in her next phase of her endeavor at this point in time.
Great one for Ifeoma Onomono. If you ask me, yes, she has fulfilled her dream because she appeared in the World Cup, played in the Olympic, then African Cup of Nations as well. She was part of the unsung hero in the last African Cup of Nations, which the Super Falcons came from a goal down against the host country to win it, and of course making it a 10th WAFCON title. So big congratulations to Ifeoma Onomono. We wish her well in her next endeavor. Let's talk about the Super Eagles, because Nigeria great talking about Segun Odegbami has urged the Super Eagles star to take responsibilities in securing the country's place at the 2026 FIFA World Cup as head coach. Eric Chell named a 23-man squad for the decisive qualifier against Lesotho and Benin Republic. Speaking at an event themed the role of sports in global geopolitics, Odegbami emphasized that football holds immense potentials as a unifying political tools, recalling Africa's historic boycott of the 1976 Olympic Games as an example of collective strength. He expressed that Africa, led by Nigeria, must be prepared to stand together once again if faced with global injustice, using football as a platform to change or to champion freedom and equality. Odegbami described Nigeria's qualification for the 2026 World Cup as very important, insisting that participation would provide Africa with a stronger voice in world affairs. All right, we see how the Super Eagles, can be able to turn around the tide, because it looks as though the 3-point deduction from South Africa has given them a lifeline. Let's head straight to the English Premier League. We can tell you that Manchester United, yes, they won their game against Sunderland 2-0, thereby relieving the pressure on Ruben Amorim's side, who has been under intense pressure and criticism. Kingsley Ruben Amorim taking all 3 points at Old Trafford without conceding a goal. 2-0, it ended in their favor, with Mason Mount coming back with what looks more like a wonder goal, and Benjamin Sesko nailed the coffin of Sunderland. What a way to relieve the pressure from Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, it's a huge relief for Ruben Amorim, because if you didn't get all 3 points this weekend, would have been a very, very disastrous one. Of course, like I said, in the morning, and good one for them. I think they were able to hold their own against Sunderland. I was a little bit, afraid because of the way Sunderland has started the season. I thought it was going to be a very tough one, but United, actually, found their way through to see how they can get that one, of course, with ease. I just hope that it does not end there. Can they build on this performance? Can they build on this momentum, going forward? That's always, the question. In the next game, you just see them falter. It's always very, very disappointing. But I just hope that Ruben Amorim will look for a way, to stabilize the team, to stabilize the winning mentality of the team and see how, of course, they can beat that, fearful side, anytime, any day in the Premier League.
In the other game, Arsenal were able to gun down their opponent, the Hammers, talking about West Ham. 2-0 also ended in favor of Arsenal. Arsenal, cost of that result, Kingsley, they are temporarily occupying the first position. Can they stay there for long?
We don't know yet. We don't know. They understand that the next game will be against Fulham. And I believe with the momentum we've seen from Arsenal Football Club, they have what it takes, of course, to be at the top of the table for a very long time. Liverpool are not having it easy, after putting up a very good start, this season. But in the last 3 games, it's been very difficult, for them, from what we're seeing. So, and Arsenal are flying so high, at this point in time. I believe they can stay there, for a very long time. But the issue has always been that they have the ability to stay at the top of the table. But staying there to the very end is always the problem for Arsenal. And yes, injury, you could actually attribute injury to be, Arsenal's problem, at some point. And unfortunately, this weekend as well, we saw Odegaard, of course, being there taking off, in that encounter. And it's not a good one. So when key players, like Odegaard, Declan Rice, Bukayo Saka, whenever they have issues, it destabilizes Arteta sometimes. And I just hope that, of course, this won't be, a setback for them, of course, in the title pursuit this season. Let's just hope for the best for Arsenal. I tell you, they've been very, very impressive. They could have been, think about 8 games in all competition. They've only lost once, which was against Liverpool. And for me, I think they're looking very good. The squad depth, they now have it now. So Arsenal have no issue. Like earlier on in the season, when the season was that, everyone was talking about Arteta have no excuse this season than to deliver a major title, for Arsenal, either the Premier League or the UEFA Champions League. And so far so good. They've been fantastic in both competitions. So let's see how far it goes for Arsenal.
A rejuvenated Tottenham Hotspur under their new coach Thomas Frank were able to travel away from home and beat Leeds United 2-1 in that very encounter as well. Moving on, Nottingham Forest head coach Ange Postecoglou says he remains unfazed by the pressure surrounding his position despite poor start to his tenure at his new side. Australian manager is yet to secure a win in his 6 games since taking over from Nuno Espirito Santo at the City Ground, fueling frustrations among some supporters. The club is winless in its first 6 matches since the Australian replaced Nuno Espirito Santo at the City Ground. According to BBC Sport on Friday, a cross-section of the Forest supporters chanted, "You are getting sacked," in the morning towards the former Tottenham and Celtic boss following Thursday's 3-2 Europa defeat at home to Midtjylland. So, Ange Postecoglou, under the scrutiny of the fans, 6 games, not a single win, and the fans are already chanting for his exit. Did he make a mistake by accepting that job?
I think he made a mistake, honestly, because if you take a look at it, there was already an issue between the management and the former coach Nuno Espirito Santo, and I don't know how the players, perceive that. All right, you don't know what might be going on in the minds of the players or what is really going on in the team. You can't tell me the Nottingham Forest side that we know last season that had an impressive run under Espirito Santo will go 6 games and no win, not even a win. At this point in time under Ange Postecoglou, not that he's a very bad coach. He was a coach who won the Europa League for Tottenham. So I think there's something wrong. Something is actually wrong somewhere, at this point in time. And I just pity for Ange Postecoglou at this point in time. I think for me, just like you mentioned, it was a mistake for him to have, taken that job, at this point in time. But let's just see what, comes up. Maybe try to see how to talk to the players, try to see how he can, of course, help the team, grow psychologically. Because like I mentioned I don't think is the performance. Maybe there is something going on at this point in time. The owner of the team has always, we see him always interfere in the former manager's job, and all of that. So I don't know what's been the situation of things, what's really going on in the team. So at this point in time, I would just wish Angel Postecoglou the very best, in his time down there at Nottingham Forest, because it was so embarrassing to him and a dent, of course, in his coaching career. Just after you were being sacked, you were brought in again. You couldn't win any game and you were sacked again. So it will be a very, very disappointing one. Let's just see, how it goes.
All right, under pressure, Ange Postecoglou remain on face despite the taunting from the fans out there. We'll see how he pounds out. 6 games played thus far, no win, and the fans are getting at his neck. But the man remained very untroubled despite the pressure. Away from that, Alex Iwobi has written his name into the history book as the joint highest Nigerian appearance maker in the English Premier League history, equaling Shola Ameobi's record of 298 matches when he started for Fulham against Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium on Friday night. The Super Eagles midfielder milestones come just 2 days after his club celebrated Nigeria's 65th Independence Day anniversary with a vibrant gathering at their Montport Park training ground on Wednesday, where Fulham wore green jersey to mark the occasion. Iwobi, who began his Premier League journey at Arsenal before stint at Everton and now Fulham, has been a consistent performer in England's top flight since making his debut. His achievement places him level with Newcastle United legend Ameobi, who set the record during his 14th-year career at the Magpies and brief spell at Crystal Palace. The 28-year-old is now the only active Nigerian in the race for all-time appearance record, with the next closest player being Wilfred Ndidi and Kelechi Iheanacho, having departed the English Premier League before the start of the 2025-2026 season. So for Alex Iwobi, Kingsley is writing his name in the history book for being the highest Nigerian in the English Premier League to make the highest appearance. The likes of Shola Ameobi, 298 appearances, but then he has retired. Alex Iwobi is still young and still going, and he can still break more grounds. Yeah, great one for him.
Yeah, a great one for Alex Iwobi. He can still break more grounds, just like you mentioned. The guy has been prolific for Fulham, putting up some impressive assists, as this time. But my worry for Alex Iwobi is that he doesn't replicate this impressive performance for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We only see him functioning very well with Fulham. But when it comes to the Super Eagles of Nigeria, those killer passes, all right, we don't tend to see them. I think, was it the game they played this weekend? Was still Kelechi Iheanacho putting up a very good assist, but when they, I beg your pardon, Samuel Chukwueze, yes, putting up a very good assist. But when they come to the Super Eagles of Nigeria, you ask yourself, where are these passes? Where are these killer passes? Are they, where are these shots that, of course, they go out there and be able to put up? So it's always a thing of, concern, at this point in time. Good one for them. They're doing so well, of course, in their club side. But what we need as Nigerians is that whenever they come back to the play for the national team, they should also replicate that same form, to help the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And now this is the time where we need them most, because the World Cup qualifiers is just by the corner on Friday. I think they will play against Lesotho. So they have to do everything it takes, for them to see if they can possibly maybe qualify for the World Cup. Kudos to Alex Iwobi, wishing the very best.
Kudos to Alex Iwobi, and we wish him the very best. And on that note, we say that he is our sport extraordinaire for today's edition of the show, because he has written his name into the history book as the joint highest Nigerian appearance and maker in the English Premier League history with 298 matches and still counting. Alex Iwobi will say very big congratulations to you, and keep moving on, because we trust that you can even break more grounds. And this is the size of the program on this weekend edition of the show. I did the show alongside Kingsley Emmanuel. My name is Emmanuel Mike, the Prime Minister of the Airways, and we are saying have a wonderful weekend ahead.